My name is Al Britnell. I am the Police Chief and Director of Public Safety for the Charleston County Aviation Authority Police Department in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm also the team leader of the team that has been assessing the Oshkosh PD and will be here for the next several days. I'd like to introduce the other member of my team. It's Kenneth Rogers. He's a lieutenant with the Mississippi State University Police Department. The Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies of Gainesville, Virginia, has authorized us to assess the Oshkosh Police Department, which is a candidate for re-accreditation. The Oshkosh Police Department has voluntarily contracted with the Commission to work towards re-accreditation and thereby continue to demonstrate its professional excellence. When the agency originally entered this process, it received the Commission Standards Manual, which contained approximately 482 standards, encompassing all facets of law enforcement, management, operations, and support functions. The Commission initially accredited this organization in 1994, and since then, the agency has been able to maintain its accredited status. The agency's proofs of compliance are on a file at 420 Jackson Street, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is actually the police department. Since then, the agency has attempted to maintain those standards. Our responsibility as assessors for the Commission is to revisit the agency and verify that it is maintained and has remained in compliance since it was last accredited. Police Chief Scott Gruel, the Chief of Police of the Oshkosh PD, has appointed Lieutenant Kenneth Conrad as the accreditation manager to oversee the re-accreditation process for this organization. In accordance with the Commission's public information policy, the agency's candidate for re-accreditation has been publicized in the area, and the agency has arranged for this particular public hearing. The public hearing is intended to provide interested citizens or employees of the agency an opportunity to address this assessment team concerning the agency. Any comments that you make will be considered by us as we review the agency, and we will also be reporting back to the Commission. If you wish to supplement your verbal comments with a written statement or exhibits, you may present them to our team at the time you speak, or you may send them to the Commission, where they will be reviewed when the agency is presented for re-accreditation at a formal Commission conference. You may mail your written remarks to the Commission at the following address: the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies Incorporated, 13575 Heathcote Boulevard, Suite 320, Gainesville, Virginia, 22030, 2201. If you need that address, I'll be glad to provide it for you. At the beginning of the meeting, a sign-in sheet was made available in the rear of the room. Those of you who desire to speak will be given an opportunity to address us in just a few moments. If you wish to speak with any member of the Commission staff, you may also reach them on a toll-free number, 800-368-3757. The Commission staff representative for this agency is Ms. Christy Goddard. You may also email your comments to CALEA@CALEA.org, placing the agency name in the subject line of your email. I would like to remind you that this meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be forwarded to the Commission for its review. Are there any questions from the members of the audience that we can answer before we begin? I'm from South Carolina, so I tend to speak a little different than you all are used to. So please excuse my accent. If you don't understand me, I'll be glad to repeat myself, okay? And if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. I'll do my best. Ms. Jennifer Chandler? Yes. Do you wish to speak to us?
Not just yet.
Okay.
Is that okay? I wanted to kind of see how things are going to go before I...
Sure. No problem at all. No problem at all.
Dr. Easton.
Dr. Easton?
Yes.
I've got you down here. Would you like to speak, ma'am?
I didn't have any comments. I'm fairly new in Oshkosh, and so I'm starting a project of getting to know the mental health system and the way Oshkosh works, and that's why I decided to come in tonight.
Okay. Well, welcome to Oshkosh.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you're going to be pleasantly surprised to know that as an accredited organization, mental health is a subject that the police department deals with regards to their practices and their training. So I'm sure that they'll be able to provide you with everything you need with regards to being able to address that particular aspect of the law enforcement side of it.
I'm impressed to know that they're accredited.
Yes, ma'am. They've been accredited for quite a while. They work extremely hard to maintain that accreditation. Well, thank you for attending.
You're welcome.
And John Shorsey.
Is there any specific information you're looking for?
No, sir. Actually, this is an opportunity for you to tell all your secrets about the chief.
All right. Well, I happen to serve on the Police and Fire Commission. I've
Yes, sir.
been maybe 2 terms. Most of my contact is with the chief primarily, and I do know his command staff. I've got nothing but high regard for our department. I've done a few ride-alongs, and the officers I've been with, very professional. They seem to observe stuff that goes right past me, so I know they're out there doing their job. We're involved a little bit with the hiring process. We approve the appointments that the department makes, and I've seen the process that they go through to get on the hiring list. I think we spend a lot of good time making sure we have good candidates that come onto our department. I'm sure there's more, but until something comes up that would trigger a memory, I can add a comment later. But if those are the things you're looking for, I mean, you could ask me questions too, and I might be able to address something, but I'm happy to be here and offer what I can.
Thank you, sir. As a matter of fact, quite a few of the files reflect the Police and Fire Commission, and it's refreshing to see that there is a definite, it's a very positive relationship between the commission and the police department, and based on the files that we have inspected, it's evident that both the agency and the Police and Fire Commission work very close together, and that's really good to see. And there's that level of mutual respect, and it's always nice to have an outside entity kind of keeping tabs on what's going on within the organization. And it's always a plus too when the police chief basically opens his doors to the Police and Fire Commission, and the agency, I see, almost depends on your input, which is really
I think another positive thing that reflects well in our department is the discipline notifications that we see are very few. And if there is something, we're notified, and action is taken, but it's never gotten to a level that it's had to come before a commission. I had that experience once way back, and it's just not a pleasant thing for anybody. But I think a testament to the leadership here, it's a very well-run department, in my opinion, as an outsider and from what I see. So I think that's all good for these guys.
Sir, I appreciate you taking the time, and we appreciate you, especially in this weather, to come here and say that. Thank you. Mr. Gary Gray.
I came here just basically to learn something about the police department. I'm also Bill. Okay. I came here to learn something about the Oshkosh Police Department. I am also a fairly new resident of Oshkosh. I've been here about 2 years. I really don't have any direct experience with the police department, but from my observations as a bystander or a person that has driven around the city from time to time, I have seen, well, the police have been very efficient in various different situations, basically, unfortunately, traffic accidents, and they have been very professional. And also in regards to the volunteers that help the police departments. I forgot the technical name for those volunteers, but they assist the police department, as you well know.
Yes, sir.
So that's the reason I'm here, is to learn a little bit more about the Oshkosh Police Department.
Thank you very much for attending, sir. I much appreciate it, and you're extremely accurate one thing we have learned in the last couple of days we've been here is there's a lot of involvement with the citizenry with regards to the police department. The police department does welcome volunteers. They've got several programs to include their auxiliaries, and they depend on the citizenry to assist them in looking out for the public safety of everybody that lives within the city limits of Oshkosh. And they do take full advantage of programs that are in place that allows the citizens to actually get involved with helping out the citizens that actually live here. So, and actually you will find out that the Oshkosh Police Department is one in very few nationally accredited law enforcement agencies in the state of Wisconsin. I don't think there's more than 3 or 4 that are actually nationally accredited, which says a lot about the organization, and again, the fact that you do live in a city that has a nationally accredited police department. That says a lot.
Could you say something about the standards for, maybe the lieutenant can help me out here and point to the standards area that would relate to what the questions I had. Like the school liaison is the area that I'm concerned with, and I'm also concerned with the area. I know there were citizens here in Oshkosh that had made requests in the past to have some sort of liaison between the police department and different racial groups that are not white here in Oshkosh, and their requests were turned down repeatedly. And to my knowledge, no such liaison activity was ever put in place. And the reason I bring up that, I'll start with that area first, and then I'll go back to the school area, if that's okay. The reason I bring that up is I have been volunteering with a couple of organizations here in town that work with refugees that come from several different countries. And we're hearing from, we're hearing some fallout through some different avenues of some racist attacks against our new citizens. And we're concerned about that. And so we're working with our clients who are these refugees, but these attacks aren't targeted just at our clients, they're targeted at our other non-white citizens of Oshkosh. And I think that we'd like to see, you know, what is available that could be done in a preventative fashion here in the city of Oshkosh, so that our city doesn't have to go through what several other cities are currently going through right now across the nation, with some horrific incidents between police and residents. So is there something in the standards that addresses that kind of issue, or is this, or are these standards not the place for that kind of work?
Well, there's the commission on accreditation with regards to the standards. They obviously, the standards are, they encompass basically all of the activity that law enforcement gets involved in. So there is a correlation there. I think you're in a very good setting to bring your concerns up, because obviously we've got the chief of police here. My recommendation is, after this hearing, and the lieutenant and the chief are here, they can point you to the ideal individuals that you can speak to with your concerns. The chief has a very competent command staff. The lieutenant's very involved in the agency. And if you make an appointment or speak with him, I'm sure that this would be a great opportunity for you to voice your concerns directly to the chief of police or to his command staff that would be involved in that particular area that you're concerned about. Obviously, you feel that that's very important. You're taking the time to come here, so I would encourage you to follow up and have the opportunity. Again, two of the agency's leaders are standing right back there. So again, I would encourage you to meet with those, with the chief or the lieutenant, and they will point you in the exact in the proper direction to address your concerns.
So are there standards that are part of what
well,
you work on that address this kind of, like, are there standards that say, you know, cities the size of Oshkosh should have liaisons with, you know, outreach, I don't even know what they would be called, but they,
Right.
see, we couldn't access the standards themselves, so I couldn't read, like,
Yeah.
what are the standards?
Well, there's not a specific standards that require a liaison with a particular ethnic group. CALEA doesn't necessarily, what CALEA wants is the agency to develop a liaison with everybody. Now, throughout the process, if there is a particular group that is being targeted, well, there's plenty of standards within the commission, I mean, within the whole process that address the various ways that they're being targeted. So, I mean, what you're asking me is there a standard that says, okay, if an agency is 25,000 people, or, I mean, if a city has 25,000 people or more, then they've got to liaison with this group or this group. It's not quite written to that extent. However, if you as a citizen are running a program or are concerned whether or not there's a particular standard that will exactly address your, it's not necessary. I think you will find that the agency will be very much interested in your concerns, and they will do their best to try to address your concerns. One thing I have learned is, while I've been here, is Oshkosh is becoming very diverse. As a matter of fact, in my conversations with the lieutenant, he has addressed some of the concerns and some of the issues that the agency is going to have to address, and the town itself is going to have to address. So I don't think your concerns are going to fall on deaf ears. Now, I don't know if any immediate programs are in place to specifically address what you're concerned about. However, I can assure you that the chief or his command staff will be glad to discuss it with you.
So, and then back to the issue of the school liaisons, do you have standards that govern that area?
Yes, we do.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I was just talking about an experience or a situation that I know about that happened with a police liaison at a school that occurred, and I just wanted to know if this is can I describe it, and then you can tell me if that's in accordance with the standards or not, or is that this not the place for
Did this
that?
happen in Oshkosh?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
And I just wanted to ask, you mentioned that their original accreditation was in 1994, and then when was the last time?
2011.
2011.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
So this incident I'm going to describe happened between 2011 and now.
Yes, ma'am.
So an incident among some students occurred at a school. The principal talked to some of the students, and then the principal called the officer in. And the principal described her perspective of what occurred to the officer, and the officer never spoke to the students who were accused of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then a citation was issued to the students. And I just was wondering if is that in accordance with the standards that the officer and the parents, I mean, the officer never spoke to the student who received the citation.
Mm-hmm.
The parents were never called in until after the entire thing happened, just to be told, you know, your child received this citation. I didn't know that if that's is that the way things are done?
What the standard calls for, if an agency provides school liaison officers, or SROs, school resource officers, and different jurisdictions handle schools a little differently. However, if the Oshkosh Police Department maintains a school liaison program or an SRO program, what CALEA, what the commission or the standard will require is that the agency has a directive in place that's available to the public that outlines the duties and the responsibilities of that SRO officer with regards to that particular school, whether it's an elementary school, a middle school, or a high school. You'll find out there is some national standards that are required of a school liaison officer. And an agency that puts a school liaison officer into a school is also required, just like CALEA requires them to do, is to maintain up-to-date and specific standards with the conduct and the actions of that particular officer while at that school. Basically lays out the parameters of that particular officer, what he or she is required to do. And it can change pretty drastically dependent on whether that officer is in an elementary school, a middle school, or even a high school. So again, what I would ask you to do is, when you have an opportunity, is set up a meeting with the officer in charge of the school liaison program with the Oshkosh PD, and you may be able to get better information as to exactly what that incident was. However, keep in mind, because we are talking about a juvenile, I don't know if there'd be any sensitive information that you may not be privy to. However, if the parents of that juvenile is concerned with the officer's actions, I would encourage the parents to meet with that officer or with that officer's supervisor and determine exactly what happened with regards to that child and the citation.
So as far as the standards of the situation I described, that is in accordance with the standards, or might be, or is not?
I know that the agency does have policy and procedure in place for their SROs. Now, if it's specific to that particular incident, I'm not sure what the incident was that called for the officer to write a citation.
But is it part of the standards for the officers to speak to the students involved?
It could be, but that could be just the investigative techniques. Again, it's kind of hard to make comment because I'm not sure.
So there's not a. So I guess. So
no, there's not a standard that will actually say
they must speak to the student.
No, ma'am.
There isn't one.
No.
So, and the reason I was bringing it up is if we look at the Oshkosh School District's student expulsions and all the disciplinary actions, including when they get a citation from the police department, we see a similar pattern in Oshkosh that exists in many cities across the nation, where we see black students and other students of color receiving more punishment and harsher punishment than white students. And that's why I was asking, because our refugee population, many of them are families and they have children, and they're coming here to Oshkosh thinking they've left the police state and the terrible situation in the country that they have escaped from, and they're coming here, and what we're offering them is really not any, in some respects, not much better than what they left. I mean, it is part of what our situation ends up being. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
So it's very concerning to say, okay, here we are, we're welcoming new people into our community, but we're going to expel your children from schools and give them police citations for doing things wrong without even contacting you and without ever interviewing your son or daughter. They're just So it's a very concerning situation. So I will take up your suggestion and talk with the individuals here.
Yes, ma'am. I would. If obviously you're passionate about this, and I can assure you, based on my knowledge of the Oshkosh Police Department and my interactions with the command staff, if you take a few minutes and make arrangements to meet with the officer in charge of that program or with the chief or his command staff, I can assure you your concerns will be addressed. Since I've been here, I've had no indication that minority students are being picked on or singled out. So I would strongly encourage, and if you get an opportunity, I think you will be surprised at some of the programs that the agency has in place. But we do know that there is different ethnic groups that are coming in to the city, and when that happens, a progressive police department is going to adapt how they do things. And I think you'll find out that the Oshkosh PD will adapt to the needs of that particular group. Keep in mind that as with any major changes or any major changes to the demographics of an area, sometimes it takes a little time. However, I think you'll find out that no one group is being singled out, and I would definitely encourage you, again, to meet with the leaders of this organization and discuss your concerns, and see if, in fact, in those particular incidents that you described, if that's exactly what occurred. And then if the parents are concerned, again, I think you'll find that the leadership in the agency will have no problems in addressing the concerns of those particular parents. So my suggestion at this particular time would be to meet with the leadership of the agency. And you may be able to educate the leadership and advise them. They may not know to the extent of how quickly or how much the demographics are changing. But I do know there is a percentage of the population that is growing, the minority population that is growing, and it's like anything else. We as a city and the citizenry have to adapt, and also the police department has to adapt, because obviously our laws are a lot different than their laws, and our culture is different. And so, as with any group of individuals, we have to learn from that group of individuals, and we may have to adapt to address those particular individuals' concerns. So I would encourage you to meet with the chief and talk to him about your concerns. You're very passionate about this, and I appreciate you coming in. I really do. And what your concerns are is why we have these particular meetings. It allows the citizenry to have an opportunity to voice their concerns, and it also gives the agency leadership a chance to see what's going on out there and what the concerns of their citizens are. This is a very progressive police department. I can assure you your concerns are going to be addressed by the police chief. No, thank you very much.
If I could offer a comment to your
Yes,
first
yes.
concern. I know we have a community policing model that they've been developing, and I think it's always in being refined as needs come up like you've addressed. Maybe the community policing officers need to have more contact with your groups. They need to know who these guys are, or gals, and maybe be on a first-name basis and have somebody to call if things are not looking good. That's what the community policing model is. So they're not going to just show up at a time of need, but you want them there beforehand. And I see that logo on the side of their new vehicle, too. And maybe that could be in your neighborhoods where some of these people are residing now. So I think we have well, that's me talking, but a good model here that can address some of these concerns.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Chandler, have I been able to address your concerns? I mean, again, if I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, and I think once the communication starts, I think I can open a lot of doors. And as Mr. Gray stated, he's a member of the Police and Fire Commission.
And other people that are also volunteers with these organizations, they're the ones I'm hearing it from where, oh, we tried that years ago with the police department and they said they didn't see a need for any kind of liaison to address these kinds of issues.
Well, years ago it may not have.
Right.
Right. And a first step, again, would be to meet with the leadership. But I think you may find out if your next meetings with these advocate groups invite the community policing officers, invite the police department so they can see firsthand, so they can hear, okay, maybe a couple of years ago they may have felt that there was need, or the resources, the manpower didn't necessarily allow it. However, as I said, a progressive agency tends to adapt to the conditions. And I can assure you this agency is a very progressive law enforcement agency. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the response that you're going to get with regards to your concerns. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? I'd really like to thank everybody for coming. And one thing I have learned in the assessments that I conduct, and I conduct them all over the United States, is you will find out communications goes a long way. The Oshkosh Police Department works for its citizenry. And I think you will find that the chief's policy is to address the concerns of all of their citizens. So I would just ask you to communicate. This is a nationally accredited organization, and I think you'll be very surprised to learn the effort that this agency does place on its citizens and the concerns that they do have with regards to the level of crime, and they want to make this community a safe place to live. And being a national accredited agency, that's one step that helps them accomplish that particular mission. So communicate with the police department, communicate with your organization. Next, when you have meetings, invite the community police in. That's their job. The community policing officers in the Oshkosh Police Department, their job is to get out to the community and let the community know that the resources that are available to them and the support from the community. Okay, this will end this public hearing. Again, I appreciate it, and the time is now 6:30. Hopefully it's not raining, so nobody's going to get wet. Thank you very much.